Hey everyone, it's Kellen Brower here from RacerX, back again with another race examination where we're going to look back at Atlanta 3 before we head into this weekend's Salt Lake City 1 Supercross. And remember, in the 450 main event, it was Aaron Plessinger who actually grabbed the whole shot with Ken Roczen right behind him, but it wouldn't be too long before Roczen would scoot by him for the lead. Early in the race, Dylan Ferrandis got into the back of Jason Anderson in a bit of a racing incident, but what you might not know is that Anderson going off the track right here and accelerating off the track to the inside of this corner got him a 3-place penalty, so he was actually assessed that after the race. But here's Roczen early in the race going around the inside of Plessinger over the tunnel jump, and then he's going to go to the outside into this first corner, kind of squeeze Plessinger so that he can maintain the inside line. But a nice move in the end for Kenny. And then Cooper Webb would pass Plessinger just a couple laps later. This is on the 4th lap of the race, so Webb moves in a second. Plessinger tries to fight back, but Webb was able to hold it, and he would stay there, but they were losing ground on Roczen all the while until the 10th lap of the race when Roczen has this big moment in the whoops and goes down. That one definitely could have been a lot worse, but Kenny was able to remount and continue on his way. But look at this crash again in slow-mo. First, he gets the rear wheel kick from the little V rut in the whoops, and it goes sideways. And this is a very similar crash to the one Garrett Marchbanks had in the whoops at Atlanta 1. But Roczen able to skirt out of that relatively unscathed and slips a little bit getting back to the bike, but loses a little bit of time in the process. But I wanted to highlight this. So when Roczen gets up from his crash, before that he had ran pretty much all 136s, 137s. On the 9th lap he did a 139. But then this crash, he did a 146.2 on that lap. And after this crash, he ran nothing but 140s, so his pace had definitely fallen off. The wind was out of the sails. Contrast that with Webb, who had done 38s, 39s, a couple 37s, and then after Roczen's crash, sensing a chance to go after Roczen, ran a 137 and pretty much nothing but 138s after that, except for the last lap of the race, which allowed Webb to immediately close up to Roczen. When Roczen got up, it was about a 5 to 6 second gap, but Webb immediately closed up on him because he's basically running 2 seconds a lap faster for like 3 laps straight. Goes up the inside, makes this pass for Roczen with 2 laps to go, and he would set sail after that. I want to talk about this pass, though, because a lot of people are saying, man, Roczen, you went so wide. Why didn't you defend better? Well, what's happening here is Roczen knows Webb is coming up the inside. And if I pause it here when we get to the top of the berm, Roczen's plan is to cut under behind Webb, who's going to go to the outside of the berm to get a drive for the whoops. But what he doesn't anticipate is Webb squaring off the corner pretty tight right here and blocking Roczen's chance to go back up the inside into the whoops. So Webb doesn't get the best drive in the whoops, but the racecraft that he possesses always seems to be one step ahead of whoever's behind him, and that's why he's able to block Roczen off. And Roczen did have a late charge after a Webb mistake, but just not enough, and Webb was able to get the win again, extend his championship lead from what would have been a 10-point gap out to a 16-point gap with 2 rounds to go as he takes the win at Atlanta 3. I want to remind everybody that this video is presented by onX Off-Road. Nowhere to go with the #1 off-road GPS app. Access 400,000 plus miles of trails and roads, open dates, and public lands. Download the onX Off-Road app today. So the 250 class saw a lot of action, as we pretty much saw in this class all week long, and it started off in this first main event start with Justin Cooper getting the whole shot. You're going to see Lawrence and Hammaker right there with him early on, but in the back of the pack, Cameron McAdoo is going to clip a tough block and go down and cause a chain reaction crash here. And it started off when he ran a little bit wide. Styles Robertson going to the left area of the track. McAdoo clips the tough block. Chris Blose goes over the bars off the top of McAdoo. Derek Kelly comes running in. This crash was brutal for Blose, so clips McAdoo's back and goes just augers into the next jump. Unfortunately, he was helicoptered off after this, but he did update us later in the week and say he just had a couple fractured ribs and a broken thumb, so I guess in that sense fortunate that it wasn't worse. On the restart, though, Cooper's going to get the whole shot again, but it's not going to last for too long. As you'll see here, he slides out of the off camber, and his teammate Nate Thrasher is going to go around the outside and take over the race lead, and Thrasher would pretty much take off from here. It seemed like Cooper was a little bit in management mode for the championship, knowing McAdoo was a little bit further back, and it went from bad to worse for McAdoo in this second start after his teammate Hammaker got a little sideways in the whoops, and then McAdoo hits him, goes down. Pierce Brown runs into that. Cody Shaw gets involved there. But then it's going to go from bad to worse, and this is the moment that everybody is talking about as Garrett Marchbanks goes up the inside and puts Cameron McAdoo on the ground. And McAdoo, you can see, trying to get his leg unstuck and just trying to get moving here as he is completely lodged in the back of Marchbanks' bike. But here's what Garrett had to say about this incident after the fact. He said, the 31 was riding erratically all night, and at that point of the race, he was next on the track to pass. I fully intended to make an aggressive pass and get away quickly, not wanting to ride near him. I thought I was closer than I was after I landed the double. I wanted to get under him and stand stand him up in the bull turn, then be clear of him before we got to the next section. That clearly didn't work. I miscalculated my angle, then pushed the front tire all while having no chance of pulling it off. What a mess. I'm disappointed and sorry that it happened. I take full responsibility for the incident and should not have allowed my emotions to get the best of me. So clearly not an ideal situation whatsoever for either party involved. McAdoo would eventually come home in 13th, Marchbanks down in 18th, and this crash was definitely a talking point this week, again here as you see it. And it was an aggressive angle for sure, but Marchbanks definitely wanted to get around McAdoo quickly, and in the end it didn't pay off for either party involved. Ahead of them though, it was Nate Thrasher who would take off with his second career win and the second time in a week that he's gone from the last chance qualifier to winning the main event. Incredible stuff for the 91, who has really turned his season around after those Atlanta rounds. But these guys have a break now as we head back to the 250 East region this weekend in Salt Lake City, and Thrasher riding a high heading into the showdown next weekend.